as Alan said, I'm gonna give you like a sneak peek into the new Enonic Cloud that we're working on. Yeah, so we're basically creating the Enonic Cloud version 2, I guess you could say. And at the heart of that, or yeah, is the what we call the console. And if you've used any cloud service providers, you're probably familiar with some of their consoles, like Google Cloud or Amazon. And we've tried really hard to make it less complicated than the other vendors, and make it more accessible for everybody to manage their stuff. So this is the current version of the console, and I've already created an account here, but when you log in the first time, you would be prompted to create an account and set up your cloud. But this is basically the dashboard that you would get when you've done all of that. And this is basically the dashboard to my personal cloud. And that's basically the only thing I have right now. But the thought would be that you could have access to multiple clouds. So you could have your private one, and your company could have one other cloud. So you could manage different deployments. And then under clouds, you have something we call solutions. And that's basically if you want to create a blog or want to create an API, and they're not really related, and they're separate. You can think of them as different solutions. So I'm going to create one right now, and we give you some options here. So you can either choose a custom solution, and that just means that you will get XP with nothing installed. Or you can select something a little more like setup for you. And we have a couple of different options now, like if you want to try out the headless demo or the blog demo or something, you can select that. But for this demo, I'm just gonna select custom, which means nothing pre-installed. And this is basically the plan you wanna go with. So the thought is that you can choose a developer plan, and you would just get the bare minimum. You would get a small single XP instance, and it would be running on shared hardware with other people. But then you could up your plan to more elaborate deployments, like clustered deployments with automatic backups and loads of other fancy stuff, auto scaling and stuff like that. But for now, we only have a developer plan. Next, you would select your region. What this basically means is that we have clusters running in different regions of the world, and you can basically select where you want to put your solution. When you've selected all of this, you just have to name your solution. I'm just going to call it demo solution. And you get a summary at the end, like what you're going to get. So we selected the custom template in Europe with the developer subscription plan, and we're getting XP 7.5. So this kicks off loads of stuff in the background. And what you basically get here is two environments. So that's the next concept. For each solution, you can have multiple environments. And in this demo, you get two. So you have your staging environment and your production. And under each, because we selected custom deployment, there's not much that is pre-installed. But you see something called a route. You get one route and no applications installed. And we'll go over routes in a second. And yeah, like I said, there's a lot of stuff happening in the background. So for example, we're setting up XP with the proper storage configuration. And we set up DNS records for you and set up certificates and loads of stuff. And here you can see our two environments. Yeah, so just to be clear, like here's the cloud view where you get the overview of your solutions. And when you select that, then you get the solution overview. And here you can see you have two environments and both are active. And then we can log into the Enonic admin. So here you can see that this is basically a brand new domain, which is running Enonic XP. And the same thing for production. If I want to log into that, I can do so. And here I have two different servers. Basically, it took me 5 minutes to get this thing running. The next tab I want to show you is applications. So, like I said before, this was a custom installation, so there was nothing pre-installed. So you can install applications by pressing install, and you first have to select the environment you want to install into. So let's pretend we're doing this properly. So we're gonna try everything out in staging first. And here you could choose your own application or just install from market. So let's install the first thing everybody installs, Data Toolbox. And it's going to be fun to look at. Let's have XP here and the console here. So this is the staging server. And when I said there's nothing pre-installed, I kind of lied, because we pre-install one app, and that's the Snapshotter app, and that has to do with backups. So you will always get that. But let's install Data Toolbox. So what basically happened there is that I told the Cloud Console, okay, install Data Toolbox on this server. And almost instantly you could see that it was installed here. So the thought of this, or the point of managing the applications from the Cloud Console, is to give you an overview of the state of all of your environments. So now you can see that Data Toolbox, it's running in the staging environment, but it's not in production. So it's a way of you to easily get an overview of like everything that's happening in your solution. That's one way to install an application. Another way would be to use the CLI. So let's show you how that is done. You guys are probably familiar with the Enonic CLI. What we're testing out right now is something called the addition to all of the other commands that you've probably seen is the cloud section of the CLI. So now you can do Enonic Cloud, and then you get a few options for now, but this is probably gonna be more in the future. So the first thing you have to do is log in. And you will basically be prompted with this and this code right here. It should match this thing that you see in the terminal. So you can confirm that. And then you'll just log in with the same user as you logged in to the Cloud Console. And when that is done, you should be logged in. Yep. And now you can basically, I have this small app called Demo. Now you can basically do Enonic Cloud app install. And it's going to ask you, where do you want to deploy this thing? And we're working on staging. So let's select that. And then it's going to prompt you for a confirmation. Yeah, I'm sure. And you can see it kind of instantly installed the app. And like before, let's log in again. It's instantly installed in our staging environment. But when it comes to production, we haven't changed anything yet. It's completely stripped. Let's see. So that's how you manage applications. And I'm gonna copy this URL here. Next tab here is routes. And when we created the solution to begin with, we could see that you had one route created. And that's basically how you route traffic to your apps or your sites. And default route you get is the admin route. Because without that, you couldn't, you couldn't access the admin. And this is basically this route here that we've been using. You get some options here. So you, for example, this ID provider here is Enonic Cloud. And that's what allows us to auto log in. If you, I don't know if you noticed that. So when we're here and we want to open up an admin interface, you aren't prompted for any login. That's because we have an ID provider connected to your login here. So you don't have to deal with the hassle of punching in credentials again. So we have, the ID provider Enonic Cloud. This is the service path, and this is the URL to the route. And then we're going to have the options of having content delivery networks and lots of other fancy stuff. And what we can do is that we can create a new route. Let's call it demo route. And here we have two domains to work with, and we're still just working on staging. So let's just use that. And we're going to create a new route. So basically, when you go to this domain /demo, you'll be routed to, let's see. Yeah, we're still working out the kinks with this thing. Let's see. Okay, I should be able to select staging here, but let's see what happens. So basically, you're supposed to be able to select your service. Ideally, I would want this to be staging. And you point to your app. No, I'm not sure what's going to happen.
You should probably choose the production and redeploy the app.
Yeah, okay. And then at the end, you can select your system or punch in your ID provider. We're just going to use system. So let's deploy that route. And while that thing is deploying, we have to install the app on production then. And in the future, you would probably be able to like promote your app to production or somehow deploy it here as well. We haven't quite worked out how that's supposed to work. So I'm just gonna delete the app and deploy it again. So let's do production now. So yeah, this is production and now it's up here. So now I have this new route, and when I open this up, it's routed straight to my demo application. So this kind of shows you that you can get a really nice overview of your apps and routes and what is in production, what is not, and also just manage your whole solution, all of your environments. It gives you a great overview, and it's also, we think, relatively easy to get started. And if anybody has tried the Amazon Cloud Console or the Google one, this is way more intuitive and way more easier on you. And in the future, we're gonna add more stuff, obviously, but this is kind of what we got right now. I think that's it.
Boost. He asked, "What about logs and config?" This is for Gumi.
Yeah. I guess I wasn't clear about config. We have the first iteration of that. When you install an app, you can specify the config that you want. But obviously, as we go along, you would have different config for different environments and stuff like that. So that's definitely something that we've thought about, but haven't implemented yet, where you would manage your configuration.
But it's actually supported already, Gumi, because if you choose to deploy the app to production, then you should store a different config for that at least. Or maybe it's not 100% yet, but that's sort of in the UI, that's what's happening.
Right.
Yeah.
And as for logs, then we've also discussed that, and we have like a couple of nice ideas. For example, it would be nice if you could only see logs from, you could pick like, show me all of the logs, or just show me logs from a certain app or something. So that's also a work in progress, but we haven't gotten there yet.
The plan is obviously to give you access to logs, and behind the scenes there, that it might be actually a big cluster, even if you sort of didn't see that now. But it would almost feel the same way to set up a huge cluster as like a developer instance. And then we would provide access to the details through logs and metrics. But like Gumi says, not implemented yet, but it's definitely it's kind of almost on the top of the stack now that we have this basic functionality go.